You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
To the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and as this is not a regularly scheduled episode for us, a little bit of a bonus action here for you. Justin is not here this evening, but have no fear. I know you've missed him the last few weeks. Justin will be back with me on the next show, I promise, because we're doing that one 100% live, unscripted, with our dear friend Paul Roberts from SB Sports. He will be with us less than a week, 6 days from now on Sunday, August 20th, a day after Wilson's scrimmage against Coatesville, which is at home at Gursky Stadium, Saturday, August 19th in the morning. The next night, Paul Roberts will join Justin and myself to talk about the scrimmage and the entire upcoming 2023 Wilson football season, which gets underway as you're watching this on Monday, August 14th. In 11 days. So yes, the 2023 season is right around the corner. But this is a little bit of a bonus episode. I know on the preview slide, it mentioned bonus number 1 and an interview with offensive coordinator Jeremy Palm. That is Jeremy Palm. That is true. However, when I went to interview Jeremy, I also was able to grab wide receivers coach Mark Steinmeyer and linebackers coach Tony Ciatto, who we had not had on the program before. So it was great to talk with Mark, Tony, with Jeremy, and it's been a few years since we got to talk to Jeremy, so I was happy that he was willing to do that for us, and great to add an additional 2 coaches. So this is kind of a assistant coach interview part 2, and it is our first bonus of the season 9. Actually already planning on a second bonus that we'll squeeze in between some of the weekly episodes we have coming up. But enough talking from me. Before we get to the interviews, I just want to do our weekly housekeeping here and make sure we let you all know that our Season 9 sponsors are my dad, Bill Mays, and Mays Sandwich Shop, as well as White Star Tours, and we welcome them aboard for this Season 9 here on the Bulldog Hour. So appreciate the contributions and support from Mays Sandwich Shop and White Star Tours. But they're not the only ones. They are the presenting sponsors, but in addition to that, we've gotten contributions and donations from Mike Drago Sports and MikeDragosports.com, the Hop family, and we're already up to 5 anonymous donors. We had the most ever last year with 6. So before the season's even kicked off, we are already up to 5. The support has been great so far this year, and we really, really appreciate that. There are, of course, as always, multiple ways you can help us here at the Bulldog Hour. The sponsorships, advertising, and in-kind donations are absolutely amazing. We really appreciate that. Remember to check the website, bulldoghour.com, for a ton of information about the show, the football team, and the program at large. And I'll fill in for him once again since he's not here. Like and share Justin's favorite. Anything we post on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or X, whatever they're calling it now, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe on Twitch. We're under Joe Mays and JRAF on Twitch. The YouTube site's starting to take off a little bit. If you watch anything on YouTube, please subscribe and enable notifications and like the videos that we post. That will all help us reach a larger audience that we want to spread around southeastern, south central Pennsylvania, cover all of District 3 and beyond. So you don't have to just use your wallet to help us out here. Social interactions are great as well. But I think that pretty much covers it. I already mentioned that our next show will be in less than a week from the airing of this episode, Sunday, August 20th, with Paul Roberts, and we're very excited to preview this season with Paul live for you really, really soon. All right, so without further ado, let's get into our bonus episode, interviews with assistant coaches Jeremy Palm, Mark Steinmeyer, and Tony Ciatto. All right, welcome to the Bulldog Hour, guys. Thanks for joining us.
right. Great to be here.
It's a second group of assistant coaches interviews. Wasn't sure if we'd be able to grab you to join us, but appreciate you taking the time to do so. The community always likes to hear from the guys leading the young men out on the field in the fall, and have a few questions for you. They're super difficult. It requires a lot of thought, so I hope you're ready to be grilled, especially you. Is this your first time? Have we talked to you yet?
Yeah, this is my first time.
I know, Mark, we talked to you recently.
Once or twice,
yeah, I think the last couple of years.
Yep.
Jeremy, it's been a few years since
Yes.
we've had you on the show. I think the first 2 years you joined us, but we haven't connected since then, so I appreciate all of you taking the time. First question, I asked this to your colleagues the other week. Motivations to coach. What brings you back to the game of football and leading the young men you have on the team? What's the reasoning?
Well, my reasoning is, well, we've all been doing it since we were little kids. We have a passion for it. We're excited about it. We just want to bring that passion, bring that excitement to these kids and have them experience some of the same things that we experienced growing up, playing in high school, college, and just to see them grow as young men in the game of football.
And honestly, I'd probably say my dad. Growing up, I was always that water boy or the ball boy. Actually, Coach Peterson went to Daniel Boone, and I got to see him play. And then as I grew up, I got to see how my dad built relationships with the kids, and I never heard a bad thing about him, even from like friends of mine. And it was just cool to be on the other side of it after college, and just being able to see how those relationships can affect the kids even in their future.
So did you play at Boone then?
I played at Boone,
Okay.
and then I went to Millersville.
Millersville?
And then
okay.
I had a little stint at Exeter.
Is that where your dad coached?
He coached at Boone,
Boone.
and then I went to Exeter with him.
Okay,
and
Exeter. Okay.
Yeah. And now he's at PJP.
Okay, all right.
And then just to go along with what they said, the coaches and the impact that they had on us as kids growing up, you want to be able to try and do that for these guys. And it's, it's so neat to watch the growth. I think one of the most fun years, or the few years that I had, was when I was teaching at the middle school, and I met the football players in 7th grade, and then had them, for all of the years through their 12th grade year at
6
football.
years with them.
And that was awesome to see them go from, these guys like Jimmy Brooks and Junior Joseph and those guys to grow into what they did. And you knew in 7th grade why they were going to be successful. So that was just so awesome to see the growth of some of these kids as they go along, and just hopefully, help these guys become great young men.
Well, I know there's not much of an off season when it comes to high school football anymore, but how did your winter, spring workouts, spring ball, the summer sessions go? I know youth camp's happening outside right now, and this is essentially the start of your season. We've got heat acclimatization coming up on Monday, and then you really get going. But how did that off season training go this year? How did the kids take to it?
The summer's definitely over for us.
Yeah,
Summer's over. I think it's so neat to watch how the clock turns, and those 9th graders become 10th graders, and those 10th graders become 11th graders, and and so forth, and to watch who's going to rise and who's going to be the leaders and how much they've changed, and to see how it starts. As a 9th grader, I got time. By the time that they're becoming that 12th grader, there's no time. They know that every minute counts, every little memory counts. So I think that this group of leaders that we have been awesome. They've set an awesome example. They've set an awesome tone. They've held kids accountable. They have an awesome culture, and I think they're destined for big things from this whole group.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. These young men, they're experienced, bringing so many guys back offensively on the offensive side of the ball. Great leaders, kids that just work very, very hard. We started throwing early in the morning at 6:30 in the morning way back in March. 2 or 3 times a week, and it's just all the time that we spend with them, watching them grow and seeing them mature. From a 9th grader to a 10th, from a 10th to an 11th grader. It's fantastic, and that maturity piece is really fun to watch.
Yeah, you got it there.
Yeah.
Just that growth from that 10th grade year to the 11th grade year, and then the kids too, those 11th graders to 12th grade. It's huge.
I didn't properly introduce you guys. I think most people watching know who you are, but you're assuming a new role this season. Coach Matt Bender retired, isn't going to be coaching this year. You're going to be filling in for him. You're coaching the linebackers,
Yep.
the inside linebackers, or all the linebackers?
Inside and helping out Ernie with the outside too.
Now, is this your third or fourth year?
This will be my fourth year
Fourth
coaching.
year?
Yeah.
So what was it like to learn under Coach Bender and then now
It's
kind
awesome.
of be the guy?
Yeah, no, it's awesome because you get to take away some things from him, even in Ernie, and then just like stuff I previously learned, and just kind of tailor to my own, but really just hanging true to like whatever it worked for him in the past, because I mean he's been successful, so it was awesome.
Before we go full steam ahead to 2023, let's just take a step back and look at last year, 2022. What was your biggest takeaway from the season a year ago? Is there anything that you're looking forward to changing in 2023 after what you learned in 2022? Or is there something that stands out that you want to see repeat again? Something the coaching staff did? Something the players did? What was your biggest takeaway, and what do you want to see carry over?
I'd like to see us become more consistent, offensively. There were times where we would come out and, full speed ahead. We're flying, we're running, we're throwing. We're moving the football, and then there were times where we would take a step back and maybe not become lackadaisical, but that attention to detail wasn't there. I'd really like us to see with this veteran group that we have, pay more attention to those little details, those fine details, and I think we've tried to do that this off season, taking that piece of the intellectual piece of it and really building on that with this group of kids and taking it to the next level.
I think just to go along with it, in the game, a lot of you sit there and you look at a lot of the wins, but a lot of times those losses are what's come to mind. And in all of those losses, there was that handful of one plays. If we had this one play at this point, that could be a different game. If we had that one play at that point, that would be a different game. So I think from that, like you said, we just got to finish. We got to prepare and continue to pay attention to those small things, and those small things become big things. I think hopefully going into it, we're not going to be penalized. We don't want to be a team that's giving away free yards. So that's something that bit us in the butt sometimes last year. We do have a lot of guys back. We do want to communicate, make sure they're doing those things, and those were some of the little things that we're missing last year that I think the guys have worked to clean up on in the offseason.
So one of the things that whenever I talk to coaches, and you just alluded to it, the losses always stick out. And Justin and I don't have a habit of interviewing coaches, players after a loss. It's time, we don't want to stick our nose in there right now, but that now that almost a year has passed, is there something that sticks out from Hempfield and Harrisburg specifically? I know Roman Catholic didn't go our way last year either, but is there anything from those three losses last year that really sticks out? You kind of just mentioned it: refinement, attention to detail, focus, less penalties. Anything else you can elaborate on from the games last year that didn't go Wilson's way?
I mean, if one big takeaway, and I think it's huge, is no matter what the kids fought, they battled. So that's why there's so much excitement for the group that we have coming back, because they fought to the very end, and it was a 26-15 game with 5 minutes to go on like the 10-13 yard line against Roman Catholic in week 1 with a really green group, and everybody's injured and dehydrating and doing all this, and the guys still battled to the very end. The wheels came off in those last 5-6 minutes. Yeah. However, we were in a spot to be a 1-point or a 1-score game, with time winding down, and to give ourselves a chance. The same thing can be said for those Harrisburg and Hempfield game. Like, it was down to the very end. We had that one play, and I just, the kids, they're ready. I think they're ready. They're hungry. They felt that, and they don't want to feel it again.
And the game that sticks in my mind is the Harrisburg game, because we came out a little flat in the first quarter, and they jumped on us 12-0, and then at halftime, we're 14-12, and we're getting football coming out in the third quarter. If we put a drive together, man, we could have really put them on their heels. Midway through the third quarter of that game, put them in a situation where they were uncomfortable, a situation that they had not been in. Okay, now our kids have all that confidence, and in the game of football, when Uncle Momentum gets on your side, he's really hard to stop. And when you get that Mo rolling behind you, you know, I would have liked to have, you know, had that second half of that game back.
But you know, they focused on taking Cam out of the game,
Right.
And Eddie stepped up and had a big game.
Austin.
Had a big game. Tommy, you take away the negative yards, he was 220 plus and 100 on the ground.
Right.
So like they saved their best for last. Like
They
they were peaking at the right time, and they didn't ease up after that game. You know, lit that fire, so they just kept working and working. You know, didn't miss a thing all through basketball season. When they're supposed to be going to basketball practice, they're still hitting the weights hard in the morning. All through baseball season, guys, you can back off. You know, you got a big game today. Nope, and they didn't want to. They just kept attacking. They have their eyes, you know, on what they want.
Just learn how to finish. You know, like defensively, just getting off the field, getting the ball back to these guys.
Sitting here, you know, summer's over, football's here, 2023, ready to start. What are you most looking forward to this season? What stands out right now before any games have been played? What are you most excited about?
Friday nights, you know. You know, you got the band playing, you got the lights, and you know that's the best part. You know, the kids going out there and just like make memories,
Having fun. You know, this is a group of kids that they like to have fun. They know how to work hard. They've worked hard. Now it's time for them to kind of enjoy it. Continue that hard work. Obviously not let up. We haven't won anything yet. We haven't even put pads on yet. But we want them to continue to grow, to have that fire, and to have fun, because this is the ultimate team game, the game of football. That's why everybody's so passionate about it. Everybody can't wait till Sundays on NFL. Can't wait till Saturdays to watch college football. Friday nights is all about high school football. So I mean, everybody, the community, the kids, everybody's passionate about it. We just want the kids to enjoy it, make it fun for them.
And you know, high school sports are all great, but and maybe we're biased because we're football coaches. But that Friday night lights, you come out of the locker room and you walk down the front of the bleachers, and all the youth kids are there, all the super fans are there. You know, you got parents yelling down to kids, grandparents. You know, you're seeing that person that you knew was coming to the game to see you tonight.
Yep.
You touch that bulldog, and then you run out there with 80 of your brothers. It's amazing. Nothing beats that.
Yeah, it can't be replicated.
Yeah, I mean, because we've all played in college too, so it's like, you know, there's a different vibe with the Friday nights.
Yeah, you can all speak to that, but I always direct the recent graduates that come back to watch the game, and they tell from immediate experience that there's nothing like playing with your community, your school, the kids you grew up with. College football is great, it's a lot of fun, but it's not the same.
It's not the same.
And every single one that's come back the last 5 years has all mentioned the same thing. It's too bad you don't get to kick off the season at home, but you get to go down to Philadelphia area, which I'm not sure the last time Wilson was down in the suburbs to kick off a regular season. So that'll be an interesting start to the year. But before we get to specific games or anything, how about any changes to the offense, defense? Were you talking about any scheme changes, or are we just looking at different personnel? Anything up in the air?
You know, we can't talk scheme, okay? Because other coaches, you know, they
general
other coaches tune in here. I know Mark Evans, for example, over down the township. You know, he loves to, you know, come in a Bulldog Hour just to see if he can get any snippets. But you know, we want to put the kids in the best positions possible to be successful and to make plays. If we can do that, they have the confidence to do it, we should be fine.
I think offensively you're going to take what the defense is giving you, and you're going to try and exploit that. And I think defensively, you know, we're multiple to try and take away what they do best, their best 2, 3, 4 things that we can take away, and hopefully that leads to success on Friday night.
It seems, speaking with the two of you, offensively, you've got a lot coming back. I think you're only replacing maybe 2 guys.
Well,
on
that
offense.
one guy was okay.
No impact. Won't see it.
Yeah,
So
number one. What was
his name? I think it was something.
Jones.
Yeah,
he was okay.
Yeah, 4 different positions named to first team, all league, all state, played in the Big 33.
Yeah.
That's a dime a dozen. It's really nothing special. So you got to replace him, and also one of the offensive linemen, Brendan Hopp's gone. So, but 9 out of 11 back, you got to be feeling pretty good about that. Who are some of the newcomers we could see this year filling in those holes or stepping up from maybe a special teams role player to a guy that could see a lot of action on offense?
Well, you know, not too many teams have the luxury of being 6'3", you know, at the wide receiver position. You know, our X and our Z are strong, both are outside receivers.
And our third outside receiver.
And our third, Jonah Pertet. And, you know, we have Austin Valukiewicz and Eddie Case and Jonah. They're all 6'3" or better, and very, very athletic and fast. And they have, you know, worked extremely hard in the offseason in the weight room, lifting, running, staying in shape. I mean, these guys never get out of shape because they're constantly doing something. You know, and then you throw in, you know, Jackson Wagner, who missed, you know, half a year with an elbow last year, but was a dominant player as a sophomore.
And that kind of slowed his offensive production last year. It was one of those, like, when he comes back, what can he handle? And he had a bigger role defensively.
More defense, yeah.
Yeah, and we won't mention his one touchdown that got called
That
back
got
for
called
some
back.
reason.
Yeah,
so
some
we'll
guy-
let that one go. They can talk about that in the locker room.
Yeah, somebody still owes somebody some pizza for that one. But, you know, you throw in a mix, you know, inside receiver-wise, you know, you have a Maddox Gruber, you have Adam Woods inside. You know, Adam's gonna make a switch over from quarterback and still potentially see some time at quarterback. But, you know, he's a good enough athlete. We got to get him on the field. We love his work ethic, so we want to get that young man on the field and put him in positions to be successful. So,
And the trio at running back,
Trio, yeah.
Fiorini and Amir being the seniors, and then Carell, you know, kind of as a combination of both of them. So they'll all play a role, and you know, it'll be exciting to see what shakes out up front. You know, we have, you know, all those guys back, and then we have, you know, Reininger, who everyone keeps saying how great of a camp he had, and he did.
Yeah.
You know, I told him personally, if we had to give an MVP, I felt like he would have been the MVP coming out of East Stroudsburg camp. But then, you know, the way that it shakes out, you know, at East Stroudsburg, we had a senior tight end who was like, well, heck, we got some pretty good tight ends in front of me. How can I get on the field? And he wants to move inside, you know.
He wants to move down the guard.
So James Nolan, you know, let's see how that shakes out for him, because, you know, you wish those guys the best, and that selflessness. He's done everything you've asked along the way, and he works his backside off. So he's a smart kid. You know, it'll be interesting to see how things shake out for him.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, how about you? I talked to Coach Sands about the defensive backs. So how about some insight on the linebackers? I know you have some parts back, but you're also looking to fill in a few areas too. So who are your guys?
We got Ryan McMillan returning again, and, you know, hopefully he steps up and takes on that bigger leadership role there. We have some guys like they've already mentioned. You have Austin Valukiewicz, you have Jackson Wagner, you have Nick Fiorini, even Brady Klein. So a lot of guys that are in the mix. So, you know, it should be
Christo's in there, right?
Christo,
yeah. So no, it should be interesting. We have some guys that can do a little bit of both, some pass, some run, and then just be interesting to see how, you know, it shakes out with the pads on.
If you had to pick, and it doesn't have to be position specific, it could be a defensive guy that you see stand out. How about a breakout player? I know you just mentioned Nolan being a selfless and possibly changing positions and helping you out, but who's a guy that stood out that maybe the fans haven't heard of, didn't play much last year, if at all, but you think could make a name for themselves this year?
There's a handful of kids. Really hard to say. But we again, we're going to try and put these young men in positions to be successful. One game it may be this guy, and one game it may be that guy. It may come down to matchups. You know, because we're so tall and athletic outside, people may try and do things, you know, to slow us down with our outside receivers. So it may be an inside receiver, or it may be a running back. There's just, in my opinion, it's hard to pick, you know, someone who's going to be that guy. You know, it could be one person one week and then somebody else the next.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. You know, everybody's worked so hard, and everybody's got so smart, and they've been repping the right things and doing great things out there. You know, one game it could be this guy, one game it could be that guy.
Yeah.
And you know, they got a heck of a guy leading the way with Tommy.
Yeah.
You know, pulling the strings back there at quarterback. So, you know, whatever he sees, it could be this guy because he likes that matchup. You know, and he has great chemistry with most of the receivers. So it's just a matter of where he feels we have that advantage.
Yeah, when, you know, he talks about the chemistry, these kids do everything together. I mean, that's what's so much fun about coaching, you know, here at Wilson and these young men. You know, the Hunsikers and the Cases and the Wagners and all these kids, they've done this for, you know, 8-10 years coming up to get to this point. They're best friends. They all hang out together. They do everything together.
Heck, they have. There's like 12 to 15 of them that have a Game Changer, the Game Changer app or whatever, that you do all the scoring for the youth.
Yeah.
They have a mega wiffle ball league with like 12-year-olds. You know, like Hunziker's little brother and all of his friends. His little brother is the one who put it together, and they have this, and they keep scoring.
Keep
You know,
stats
they
and
keep,
everything.
yeah,
They keep
they have
stats,
this all going on. Like they're just always together.
It's the community. It's the relationship that these kids have with one another. It's really fantastic. It really is.
All good things to hear. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a lot of negatives coming out, and it doesn't feel like coach speak either. Because talking to the other four assistants, it was very similar. Talking to Coach Dahms, been a lot of praise for this team so far this year, which is awesome. Not try to avoiding coach speak, but I know it's tough. Is there a game that sticks out this year that you're most excited to play over the next 3 months?
The first one.
The next one. To be honest with
First
you.
one.
Every week is a different challenge. You know, our non-league schedule is so tough.
Yeah.
You know, you can't circle this one and overlook that one for a second. You know, it's a respect all and attack each week. And I think the next one is truly, and that's not coach speak. That's just because it brings a new challenge for a new group of guys. And
We can't look ahead to week 4, week 5, week 8. We can't. It's just, it's too much. We've been Roman week 1. That's our focus right now.
And are there games that stung coming out of last year? You know, that you know, we might still have the stinger in. I don't know, but that, you know, there's a few of those. However, we have to get, you know, to 1-0 before we can get any further than that.
Excuse me.
You let Justin and I handle that
Yes,
talking about everyone else for you. We always make sure we do that in a way that doesn't give them bulletin board material.
Wow.
Because we know we're not going to put you in a position to try to do that, but we also try to avoid that ourselves too. So we've been talking about a lot about the positives and the virtues of high school football. Was there anything you'd like to see changed about the sport? Is there anything that I mean, it could be a rule, it could be the proliferation of multiple. You know, we talk Friday nights, but now there's games Thursday, there's games Saturdays.
I mean,
anything?
Well, in my opinion, you know, the whole NIL field thing that's going on in college football. I think, quite frankly, high school coaches, we should have some kind of NIL deal.
Looking for a deal?
Yeah, like at a local sandwich shop, maybe, something like that. Like
I don't know if we have any around.
I don't know, but maybe a sandwich a week or something. You know any good sandwich shops around? You know, something like that.
Yeah, Coach Wolver beat you to it.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He was advertising the Arizona Arnold Palmer iced teas as the official coaching drink of Wilson
staff.
football.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, you know, if we can get an NIL deal, I mean, that's something that might benefit someone.
But I think you know, high school football is just it's awesome. You know, I don't know. Obviously, everyone belly aches about private, public, and all that stuff. But you know, all we can do is play who's put in front of us.
Yeah.
So we can't. You know, we don't have a say in that. So we just let that go. And I just think you know, something with the officials, because I think they're lacking officials. And I don't know how you correct that, but we've had some really, really good ones, and we've had one or two not so great. But I think that the thing is so run dry that we always see more people out there officiating to raise the level of everybody, and that would be a huge help, I think, to the game.
Yeah, that's a good one. The lack of officials is becoming an issue, and that actually is one of the reasons I mentioned there's so many games on Thursdays and Saturdays now is because they only have so many officials.
And the age of some of the officials at the high school games. I mean, some of these guys are, you know, they're into their 70s.
Yeah. Well, and the PIAA has started to try to correct that by allowing high school students to become referees in a kind of internship type role or a probationary way. Which is an interesting way to combat the lack of able bodies to officiate these games. But yeah, that's a good one to bring out. Just a couple questions here to finish off. This is one that came up organically when talking with your players actually during their interviews a couple weeks ago. They brought up working with Mrs. Kamoff.
Yep.
I guess she's a school guidance counselor over at Southern.
Yeah.
And she also does sports psychology, and that was something that was brought up by the students. So I was interested to take, you know, your pulse and what your interaction is with her, or what you think she's brought to the program so far.
Yeah, it was brought up to me, and it was one of those like, let me investigate. You know, they said that she had talked to I think it was the baseball team at one point for one or two times, and asked like, what did you do? And what happened? And so I went over and sat down with her and we talked through. She kind of told her story, which is a crazy story. She would come and get recruited for basketball, and every time the coaches came to recruit her, she fouled out of the games. So she didn't even get, because she was so she didn't transfer over all her enthusiasm, all that energy, and so she found her way into this at Penn State where she went to throw, and she built a love for it. And the kids, like anything, they take out of it what they're there to get. So some of the kids are probably, all right, we had to be here early, I'm tired. Meanwhile, some of them are sitting there writing the notes, doing everything word for word, and it's been a lot of little like, it started as some lecture-ish type of stuff, talk through, visualize, do some of these things, but then it went to like little games and activities that when you step back, you're like, oh, that was funny, and then how does this apply? And then she explains it, and you're like, all right, now I see how this is happening. So she was awesome for us, I believe. She's still got one or two times yet this summer, but she's come every week this summer except for a week. No, she even came the week she was on vacation because she started early. we got it going early for that. So she's been here once a week all summer, and like I said, I think the kids who wanted to take something from it got something from it, and I do believe there was a large group of kids that found positive from it.
Yeah, it came up with the leaders, the seniors that I had here. A lot of them that mentioned for their leadership qualities, they brought it up, and everyone spoke very highly of the sessions and of Mrs. Kamoff. And actually, following my interviews with the other assistant coaches and Doug a couple weeks ago, I checked my email as soon as we finished, and it was an email from Mrs. Kamoff saying that she had heard that she had listened to the first show and wanted some more information. And I think I'm going to sit down and talk with her about it, because it's very interesting to me. Any way you can find both. Well, it's nice in high school sports that you're dealing with them as developing young men, but also the athletic and sports psychology is a way to improve both their off the field life and on field advantages. So it's a nice merger of those things. So it's a very interesting topic. I'm looking forward to speaking with her.
And that was the initial thought. I'm in the weight room with the kids every day, and you have your issues. When you have 70, 80 kids in a room together, and then you send them to the locker rooms, and I get lots of emails from the teachers, so-and-so was acting this way. And a lot of the stuff that she talked about with sports really was like in adverse situations. So it's not necessarily like, oh, now I have to block that guy, or now something difficult is happening. What happens when you're put in that same situation as a student, when that teacher yells at you and you feel you're not in the wrong? Yeah. So now you can start to use those same things to kind of deal and grow. So it was kind of, multi-purpose when we talked about it initially.
Read and react isn't just on the sports field. It's also in real life and your personal relationships and academics and everything. So last thing, just for the three of you, just, what's your message to the fans and the community before this season gets underway?
Just come ready. Come out and get all hype, and let's have these kids, come out to play and have fun.
Mine would be, do what you've always done. This is Wilson football. This is what you do here. When I started my family many years ago, my wife and I said, if our kids are going to be in sports, we want to be in the Wilson School District. So obviously when the kids were getting ready to come to school, we moved to the Wilson District for that reason, because Wilson is the premier school in the county, in the area, athletically, academically. It provides so many opportunities for these young men, helps them grow as individuals, as athletes, and just continue doing what you're doing. That's what I would tell the people in the community.
And I just think that, winning in high school sports is so hard. Two teams go into a competition and one wins and one loses. There's not many ties. Some of the sports allow that still, but whether it's a win by 1 or a win by 100, support those kids, watch them grow, enjoy all that they've done on the field, because they've sacrificed a lot of time. They've sacrificed a lot of things in order to get out there and do the work that they did. But come loud, be ready, and just show lots of love for our guys, because they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, it's setting up to be a very fun and exciting season. I know expectations are pretty high. Fan-wise, Wilson usually travels pretty well, but we've got a great schedule this year, because you get twice and go into an atmosphere down towards Philadelphia that you don't get to experience very often. And then the home slate's pretty exciting, because you got Central Dauphin, that's become a rivalry, Reading, a renewed rivalry, Mifflin at home for the first time in a few years,
Yeah.
And then a couple big ones in the LL, especially finishing at home against Manheim Township. So a lot of great games on the schedule. Looking forward to the season to start. I know you guys are ready to rock and roll as well. So I appreciate you taking here some time to talk to me and join the Bulldog Hour. And I look forward to hopefully talking to you guys after Friday night victories in just a few months.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Go Bulldogs.
All right, so that was a little bonus interview with 3 more assistant coaches. So you got to hear from a whole bunch of them this summer getting ready for the season. I know there's a few more that I haven't talked to yet this year or ever on the Bulldog Hour, and hopefully we can change that in the coming weeks. But I think that does it for this bonus episode of the show. Again, reminder, we will be back in just 6 days, live on Sunday, August 20th, 8:30 p.m. Justin and I welcoming in Paul Roberts to preview the entire 2023 Wilson football season. So until then, for Justin, the entire Wilson football program, I'm Joe Mays. Thanks for tuning in to the Bulldog Hour.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.